Hello, Saints, and welcome to our 33rd episode of Church Chat with Sister Junebug. I hope everybody's out there feeling blessed. Okay, so today I'm going to do something different. I want to do something special for my church chat. Instead of doing a recap of services I've seen, I wanted to do a special tribute to a legend, to a pioneer, to Harlem's Queen Cicely Tyson. So what I wanted to do is share some of the news clippings that was on TV and pictures that people had sent me because, you know, I did go and pay my respects to Sister Cicely Tyson because I told you she was a church member of mine. She was my church sister. And I went and waited online. It wasn't too bad. I wasn't on the line that long. Matter of fact, I showed up in one of the news clippings videos that I'm going to post as well. But when we got in there, they gave us the prayer cards. I wanted to share with you. See the prayer card? It's beautiful. They gave prayer cards, and on the back, it had a poem by Maya Angelou. Okay? And then, while we was out there was a man selling some stuff, and my friend brought me this. She brought this for me. This is what he was selling. And here's the other side. And she's so sweet. Here's the inside. So, I love my friend, Sister Brenda. She purchased that for me. She knows. And so when we got inside, there was beautiful decorations and stuff. Even on the outside of the church, Abyssinian, when you look on the outside, you saw this lavender decorations. Well, honey, that's how it was inside. Her dress was lavender purple. It was beautiful. She looked stunning, absolutely stunning. In the casket, makeup and everything was nice. And then the flowers, the floral arrangements in the sanctuary, it looked like a heavenly coast. I mean, it was heavenly in there. It was beautiful. And then, you know, she have a pew that she purchased from the church that she liked to sit in each Sunday, but she purchased it in honor. It was a fundraiser at our church, and she purchased it in honor of her mama. So she liked to sit in that pew, but it was decorated with lavender. I tell you, it was amazing, amazing. And then I had friends in there who they sent me some pictures. I'm going to try to post those too, because they were there working, you know, doing their ushering, working in their capacity of hospitality, you know, and usher. And so they sent me some stuff that was really nice, and I thank God for them. But I'm also going to post, you know, other than the video clips that a lot of y'all seen on y'all TV stations, you know, they tell about some of the people who was there at the church, some of the famous people who was there, you know. But this clip I'm going to post, it's not out there in the media. It's not out there with the Hollywood, you know, media where they show all those different clips of her speaking at this place and speaking at that place. This is Sister Cicely, Queen Cicely, preaching at our church in Harlem. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to try to put clips of it because it's long. It's about 40 minutes. But you know what? If I'm not able to cut it up properly, then what Sister Junebug going to do is just put the whole thing, and y'all just skim through it at your leisure, and you see what you want to see. But before we go on and I do all of that, Sister Junebug want to say, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe now. Just hit that little red subscribe button and then hit the bell next to it, and it would tell you every time Sister Junebug uploads a new video, and you learn some new stuff, you know, because Sister Junebug have a lot of stuff going on her channel anyway. So God bless and enjoy.
I was asked to come and speak about women. Women. What about women? What about us? Huh? If you read the Bible from the very beginning, God created Eve. You saw what she did to Adam. I know that you have heard over and over again that woman was always the strength behind the man. She submerged her own personality and put every ounce of strength into her man. All right? I've always had an image, primarily because of the way we have been treated in this country, of a ladder. On the top rung is the white man. The second, the black man. The third, the white woman. And the fourth, the black woman. Holding on to the last rung. And having her fingers trampled on by all of those above her. And yet, she managed to hold on, bruised and bleeding hand, until she could rally enough strength to reach for the second. We have been doing it all our lives. And so this sudden upsurge about women and their strength, it's always been there. We've always had it, but we've always given it away. We support the world, and we suffer as a result of it. Well, children. But there's so much racket. There must be something out to kill them. I think that twixt the Negroes of the South and the women of the North all talking about rights. The white man will be in a fix pretty soon. But what's all this talking about? That man over there, he said that women need to help into carriages, lifted over bridges, and to have the best place everywhere. Well, ain't nobody ever lift me into no carriage. Or gives me any best place, and ain't I a woman? I mean, look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into bars, and no man has ever had me. You know, woman? I could work as much and eat as much as any man when I can get it. And have a lash and bear it as well. You know what? I have born 13 children and seen them all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's cry, none but Jesus heard me, and ain't I a woman? And then they talk about this thing in the head. What's this they call it? What? That's right. That's right. I think they call it, I remember all his pictures. Intellect. That's what it is. Intellect. Well, what's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? Huh? If my cup won't hold but a pint, and yours hold a quart. Wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half measure full? And then that little man over there, yes, you, yeah, in the black, yeah. He says women can't have as much rights as men, because Christ won a woman. Well, where did your Christ come from? Huh? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with it. Now, if the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, all alone, all these women here together ought to be able to turn it in and right side up again. And since they's asking to do it, you men better let them. Then they write me down in history with their bitter, twisted lies, trod me in the very dirt, but still I dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high. Still, I rise. That's right, you got it. Oh, you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful pride. Does my heartiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard? Listen, you may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still I care, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my God? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I have to say that this is a position that I never expected to find myself in, that I relish coming here on Sunday morning whenever I could, and sitting in the third pew, which is named for my mother, and enjoying you. Yeah? But you decided to turn the tables on me. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. There were three of us in our family. I'm the middle child. My brother was older and I had a younger sister, that I am now the sole surviving member in my whole entire family when I was not supposed to live past 8. I am now 93 years old. And the only reason I believe that I'm still here is that he's not quite finished with me yet. Otherwise, I can't. We were brought up in the church. We went to church from Sunday morning till Saturday night. We attended church like Sunday. I played the organ. I taught Sunday school, had evening service. Monday, we had young people's meeting. Tuesday, old people's meeting. Wednesday, we gathered together to try to introduce young children to the way of God. Thursday, we had club meeting. Friday, I sang and rehearsed the choir. And Saturday, we cleaned the church. I decided at one point that if I ever lived to become a woman, I would never enter the portals of church again. And here I am, standing in the pulpit of one of the greatest churches in the world. And I didn't have a thing to do with it, you understand? My mother, when she worked, left us with, we did not know any of our grandparents, but we did know this wonderful elder that we called Nana, and my mother would leave us with her when she worked. If she didn't get home in time, Nana, who was a Baptist, would take us to her church. And so I have been blessed to have the benefit of Episcopalian and Baptist. And Nana was always putting me in something, okay? We were asked to perform one afternoon, my sister and myself, but she didn't like the song. And so she decided she didn't want to go. So my father took me. My father is the one that should have been on the stage. And so when they called Cicely Tyson, I got up and I sang the song which I learned at Nana's church. How do you do, my loving pastor? How do you do? How do you do? How do you do, my loving pastor? How do you do? How do you do? Warrior nation, I just came here to see my patients. How do you do, my loving pastor? How do you do? Well, when I was finished, they came, they picked me up. I was 9 years old. They put me on a chair, and they held me up in the air, and they marched around the church singing, how do you do, my loving people? How do you do? I knew there was something very special in that. Then she had another one, which she put me in. It was a whole series of things. But I remember most about this one was that I sang, I played the tambourine, and I sang. No, that wasn't it. Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away trip to Bountiful, all that came to the surface. See, I was rehearsing then for church. And so that really was I was steeped in the church. We were not allowed to go any place else on Sunday, but in the church. So this desire that I have to come every Sunday, no matter where I was inbred in me. And there isn't a day that goes by that I don't talk to him. I talk to him every day, every moment of the day. He guides me, and I tell him all the time, wherever you lead me, I will follow. That's right. And I play the piano. So whenever I got disturbed about anything, or my mother just got on my last nerve, I would sit down and play the piano. My favorite was He Leadeth Me, O Blessed Lord. And just as I am, without one plea. I mean, I would just sit and for hours, I would just play the piano. So the fact that I have really, what I lack is a robe, but I really am standing on a pulpit speaking to an audience, I guess that was destiny. And I thank you, okay? All right, let's see what can I give you? I'll start from the beginning of the written speech. Reverend Butts, members of the Women's Day Committee. My brothers and sisters, I am honored to be invited and to be with you on your 65th annual Women's Day observance. When God made woman, it's obvious to see that he took his job seriously. He came as close as possible to creating the perfect specimen of a human being. He gave them the honor of being mothers, and many even when they had no children by birth. Now, so that the men don't feel overlooked, God did a pretty good job with you too. But today is about women. Today is Women's Day, all right? It is a woman who holds the sky up. That's an old African proverb, I believe, that makes it so fitting that we take one special day to honor the woman. Your theme, the faith of our mothers, is perfect as we remember all mothers, including those who are no longer with us, but whose teachings will always be with us, whether we are her daughter or her son, or just someone for whom she chose to give motherly advice and guidance for life. It is from our mothers or mother figures that we learn to be respectful of others. It is from our mothers or their figures that we learn to have the courage to get ready for our first day of school, to get up and try again when we fall down, and even more. It would be difficult to find anyone who would deny the great influence mothers have or had on our lives. I'm not suggesting that young people, we all always listened to our mothers' every word, because I certainly was not. I was the bane of her whole existence. If she said walk, I ran. If she said sit down, I would stand up. I went out. My mother used to do things to me that made me think that something was radically wrong with her. I remember once having the chicken pox, and I got well, and I was about to leave to go to school this day. I went outside the door, and she called me, "Sister, come here." I went back inside. She said, "Sit down." Sat down. When you go down the steps, hold on to the banister, otherwise you're going to fall down. Hold on to the banister? I'm 14 years old. I say, hold on to the banister, otherwise you're going to fall down the steps. I got up, I walked out the door, I closed the door, I went to the head of the steps, I put one foot down, and I was at the bottom of the steps. I mean, she did things like that to me all the time. So I was not one of those that really listened to her very carefully. Do you understand? All right? And I'm sure you all had the same experience. I mean, she and I, that I love her so much, is that I realized in retrospect what she did for me, that she is absolutely responsible for who I am today. Because when I told her that I was going to be an actress, she said to me, "You cannot live here and do that." I said, "What is that?" "Whatever it is you're getting ready to do, you cannot do it here." And so I found a girlfriend who had a job. She wore the same size dress I wore. And she had an apartment. And I asked her if I could move in with her. And I moved out. And I did not see nor speak to my mother for 2 years. Okay? She just knew that I was going to live in the den of iniquity. And in retrospect, from time to time, one of the things that I am acutely aware of is how amputees feel. I've had them tell me over and over again that when you lose a limb, it feels like it's always still there. When I lost my mother, I kept reaching for this thing because it felt like my arm, my right arm, was gone. It was no longer there. And one thing I learned is that you never know what drives you through life. You never know where your source of energy comes from. And one of the things that I realized about who I have become as, quote, Cicely Tyson, is that I was determined to prove my mother wrong. And she was my source of energy throughout my whole entire career. And so that's right, and she was the one. I cannot deny it. I cannot deny it, because I know that if it were not for what she did with me and for me as a youngster, I would not have that support, that juice that runs through my whole being, that allows me to know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. So I have her to thank no matter what. But we were not the best of... because I knew that she had my best interests at heart, I went to work to prove that I had learned enough from her to keep me on the right path, no matter what my chosen profession was. When I left home, I already had so many teachings from my mother to build a life that it would be meaningful, not just to myself, but to those who would come after me. I saw that I could not afford the luxury of being just another actress who just took any role to make a living for myself. So I made a choice. I say this all the time. To use my career as my platform. And that came about as a result of being at a news, I was promoting Sounder. And this journalist stood up and said, you know, I discovered a bit of bigotry or discrimination in myself that I never knew existed. And that came about as a result of the fact that he was upset because my eldest son in Sounder referred to his father as Daddy. I asked him if he had children. He said, in point of fact, he had 2 sons. What do they call you, I asked. He said, Daddy. Well, he was, he could not accept the fact that this little black boy was calling this black man Daddy as his sons called him Daddy. Well, that did something to me. I thought, after having several of those types of experiences, that I had to address certain issues. And for me, it was important for me to use my career as my platform to address those issues. You know, it bothers me when I hear all of the verbiage today about the strength of women and how we need to be strong. What we totally ignored is that we have taken our wealth and given it away because we think it has no value. Yeah. Everybody else can see it, but we can't see it. And we have consistently given it away. All of a sudden, today, we realize who we are, what we are, and why we are on this. You know, I've had the most incredible role model as a woman. I was 9 years old when my mother and father had nothing to do with it. My mother decided, after some discord with my father, she took the 3 of us by our hands. She walked out of the door. My father had a produce business on the east side, along with a friend. She walked us down there, and she said something. The man's name was Benjamin Taylor. He was from the West Indies. They were both from Nevis. She walked over to him, and she whispered something in his ear, and she left us there. Mr. Taylor gave my brother 25 cents. He went and bought shopping bags and gave it to myself and my sister. And we walked up and down 2nd Avenue selling shopping bags for 2 cents a piece. My mother came back later that evening. And when she came back, she took us to an entirely different address. When we entered the apartment, all of the furniture and every possession that was in 219 East 102nd Street had been moved into this. My mother went, found an apartment, found somebody to move our things from our home, went back, packed up all of that furniture, moved every single stitch of it out of that house into another apartment. And we never saw 219 again. Now, if that isn't strength, you tell me what it is. You tell me. So don't, I mean, you know, we underestimate, we have always done it, underestimate who we are. All right? But it seems to be changing, and I'm very proud. It took a long time. We have to do something. We have to do something. You don't have to do nothing. You do it. Well, it's been a pleasure. I hope that I have been able to give you a little something to nosh on. I don't believe that it was quite what you expected. Somebody told me I was going to get up here and preach a sermon. Well, if I was to get up here and preach a sermon, you all probably would have been gone by now. But I have a friend that I travel with all the time. And I brought her with me. Well, children, I have to tell you this. Life for me ain't been no crystal stairs now. Jet boxing, boards, torn up, places with no carpet on the floor, just made up. But all the time I've been climbing on, reaching ladders, turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where ain't been no light. And so, let me tell you, don't you fall down. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find this kind of power. Don't you fall now. Because I'm still going on it. I'm still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stairs. God bless you.
Remembers legendary actress and Harlemite Cicely Tyson. The public memorial just wrapped up. Also tonight,
in Harlem, a private and final farewell for the family of actress Cicely Tyson. Just yesterday, we showed you hundreds of fans and friends paid their respects to Tyson, who was born and raised in Harlem. Well, today was an invitation-only memorial service at Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem. She died back on January 28th at the age of 96.
Remembering another great, Cicely Tyson remembered today in private, an invitation-only memorial service at Harlem's Abyssinian Baptist Church. Just yesterday, hundreds lined up outside the church for a public viewing. Tyler Perry and Bill and Hillary Clinton among the attendees at today's memorial. Tyson died last month at the age of 96.
A music icon to an acting icon, and a private funeral was held at Abyssinian Baptist Church for legendary actress and Harlem native Cicely Tyson. Former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, producer Tyler Perry, and actress Vanessa Williams, just some of the big names who attended the service at the famed West 138th Street Church. This is the same church where the public was allowed to say their goodbyes to her yesterday. Today, Tyson's daughter and others spoke about the woman who touched so many people through her work both on and off the screen. Reverend Calvin Butt says Tyson was an example of a life well lived.
He was as much an ambassador for peace and love as anybody I can think of, and certainly a role model for the African-American community, and particularly the young people in the arts.
Well, Tyson spent her career playing characters that illuminated the Black experience. For it, she won 3 Emmys, a Tony, an honorary Oscar, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She died last month. She was 96 years old.